Okay, so my name's Mike Montanari. I'm excited to be here. It's kind of interesting. I'm sandwiched between some guy named Jean-Pascal Tricois and Amr Paul, my boss, and then my boss's boss's boss. And I'm like, I don't know if that's the best place to be, no pressure. And then everybody's walking up going, hey, good luck, you'll be great. Good luck, you'll be great. And then I started freaking out and had to run to the restroom. Kidding. So we're gonna try to have a little fun, but we're also gonna get you down the path of our digital journey. So I'm Mike Montanari, by the way. I have the honor at Schneider Electric of leading our low voltage power distribution business, and then also deploying our IoT digital platform called EcoStruxure Power, which is what we're really going to talk about today, and specifically around digitizing the design, build, and operation of electrical distribution. But I'm not going to do that by myself because I don't know that much. I'm going to share with you some hopefully insightful information that is going to be here. We're going to share about what's going on in the industry, and then I'm going to bring up an esteemed panel of industry experts. If any of you think you know more, some of them would be willing to change, so you can work it out over on the side. But we're going to bring up a couple contractors, a consulting engineer, and an end user to get the real perspective. So that'll be interesting. So we're going to do that. I'll be done in about 10 minutes or 5. And before I start, though, for those of you that don't work for Schneider Electric and are here to heckle me, thank you for being here. Thank you for your business, for your relationships, and really for taking the time out to hear what we have to say, but more importantly, to share what you have to say. This is, I encourage you over the next couple days, feel free to tell us what you think and what's going on. Okay, so 30 years ago, you can tell I remember 30 years ago. And I remember 30 years ago, I was really excited when I showed up in the sales office as a fresh new sales engineer, and we had just gotten a fax machine. So it was pretty cool. We didn't have to mail or hand carry over quotes and stuff. Of course, then you discovered that on that thermal paper, if you didn't make a copy, about 6 months later, you went to look at something, it was gone. So it wasn't real. But now, the digitization's changing everything we do, both personally and professionally, right? And you got all the options you can do at home or with yourself, and things you can do about how you brush your teeth and performance wear, whatever else. And I think the challenge, both personally and professionally, is what do you do about the noise? So much. Where are you going to choose to go invest to learn and really utilize it? And that's what we're going to talk about today, because I think in business, when you start digitizing things, that's great. Things communicate and there's all this information. But how do you separate what you want versus what you don't? How do you declare this is what's important to me? How do we understand that and work together? So with that said, digitization is profoundly transforming what's going on in power distribution. It's changing it to a digital power business. No longer is it just about circuit protection and coordination and safety. It's also about the value you get out of that and what it means to you. And the you is the whole value chain. It's the person that ends up with it, that is the C-suite of wanting to know what's going on from an overall sustainability, performance, et cetera, whatever those concerns are. It's whoever's operating the facility, about what's important to them about the operation of it, the safety, and everything else. So, and then to those designing and those installing, and obviously to those that are bringing the technology in to you. So we're all in that spectrum. And I think it's probably critical that we align and collaborate even more. I think the walls are going to break down between what's perceived to be a supplier of stuff, a distributor of stuff, an installer of stuff, a designer of stuff, a owner of stuff. In the past, there's been kind of a hierarchical flow of, I want to build something, will you design it for me? Yes. Will you install it for me? Yes. Here's what I need. And I think the process in this environment we're in today needs to be much more collaborative. We need to break down those walls and really understand, and come together at the beginning of when projects are being thought about or buildings are wanting to be upgraded. And we are the future of that digital business. It's I saw that and I'm like, you are the future. But I think, we take it very seriously at Schneider about leading what we consider to be the fourth industrial revolution and transforming the industry. We have good stuff, but we have a really strong point of view and a real desire to help leave the place better than when we started, to make sure that the information's there to help everybody get a better performance out of the building. So, how do we do that? You don't really need to memorize this. There will be a quiz for our distributors. See if we retain them. No, but what this is, you know, if you see, this is our EcoStruxure kind of stack that we call it for any domain, and for EcoStruxure Power, this is it. And the products are different in all of them, but the architecture is similar in this context. You know, we have a bunch of equipment and devices that can communicate. You know, whether it's a meter, a breaker, a relay, whatever else, it's all, you can communicate. But that really does you no good unless you connect it to something which then goes to the next layer of the edge. So that's how you can operate and monitor what's going on with the performance of the system, get alarms, alerts, set thresholds, get reminders of things that should be done with the building, et cetera. It's kind of the on-premise. And then from there, you go up to the cloud. And that's where you really get the benefit of some advisory services around how it's monitoring, whether it's a 7 hours or 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, kind of a asset advisor type service, or it's some scheduled frequency of an advisory report around the health of the building, recommended changes, et cetera. And again, you know, we talk a lot in Schneider, because we like to talk to ourselves about how good we are, about, wow, this is really cool. And then we remind ourselves it really doesn't matter unless there's somebody on the receiving end that understands the value of what we're doing. They get the so what of the data, they help us understand what data is important or what information is important into how the facility needs to run or the building needs to operate or whatever. So that's the compelling part of the story, and that's what we're going to talk about in a little bit. We have some statistics, and I won't go through each of them, but we do have a number of project, you know, cost savings, facility performance improvement, energy savings, safety type, you know, prevention of fires or, you know, or help to make sure they don't happen. There's been a few of those lately in some critical facilities. That's normally when everybody really gets serious about I need to do something. Probably best not to wait for that is what we think. So, so we've got some really good information around some experiences we've had. But you know, the industry needs to evolve, and I certainly personally feel it. I hope everybody does, whether it's around, you know, we're going to have much more demand for power, if you will. It's going to be more digitized. We've got to drive a more clean environment, and we've got to realize the benefits of decentralized, you know, alternate renewable energy and how we do that. And as we move forward, we need to be future ready together. We're not future proof, you're always future ready, because you think you're future proof and then something changes. And this is really where we're going to get to the meat of it. Are you guys excited yet? Okay, good. So we're about to bring them up, but what we're going to talk about is really through the design and build and then operate and maintain phases, what the impacts are to the different entities in the system. And, you know, we're going to show or hopefully have a discussion around how we can make things a little bit more, you know, faster, more compliant, more simpler, safer, reliable, and efficient. So that's it. I mean, who wouldn't want that? Anybody doesn't want that, raise your hand. Sykes, put your hand down. Okay, so with that said, I'm excited now to bring up our industry panel. So joining me on stage are Barry Kaufman from BR+A in New York. Brahim, well, I'll go in order. All right, Barry's going to sit here. Ben Wilson from Decker Electric in Wichita, Kansas. Tom Clark with Faith Technologies in Menasha, Wisconsin. And Brahim Santos with Penn Med in Philadelphia. So thank you guys for being here. Please give them a warm welcome. You guys look nice, especially you with the tie.
Thank you.
Barry's like, take that off, Brahim. He goes, I'm not. Big debate here, by the way. They know each other, so I had to separate them. They're, you know, New York and Philly, they were like, you sure you want both of us on stage? I said, don't worry, I'll have a little Kansas and Wisconsin normalcy between you. So maybe a little banter, so.
But Mike, if you want me to take it off, it's a clip-on, so I can just use it.
What's that?
It's a clip-on, so I can take it off.
It's a clip-on, perfect.
You bought it in the lobby.
He's got a Superman thing underneath. Okay, Tom, we're gonna start with you. You ready? I've changed all the questions. The ones I sent you, I decided they weren't.
I'm not surprised.
Okay. So what's changed for you in terms of how you run your business? What's new?
You know, I think what's new is convincing our people that this digitization of your life isn't just your personal life, but it's the professional life as well. And as an electrical contractor, you know, we've been installing pipe and wire and powering buildings for more than 45 years. And then when you add on, what does it mean to be digital, and how does that apply to what I'm doing today, and what the products are that we're installing today? Trying to convince them and show them how this is in addition to what we've already been doing, and this is an additional service. This is an additional way that we can help our clients and help our customers be able to realize how they're better using their power and connecting all their systems within their building.
Yeah, so what new things, give some examples of some new things you're doing at Faith, because I know you're on a journey. You've made some pretty big correction, or I won't call it course correction, but decisions strategically. I hope Mike's in here. I hope you don't yell at me for getting it wrong. Decisions around how Faith is, how it operates, and then the businesses you're in. So maybe you give a little examples of something.
Yeah. I mean, you know, over the course of the last 7 years, as we've seen this and having partners like Schneider, seeing how it's impacting our clients, and we've invested, you know, in resources that maybe traditional electrical contractors won't. We have an engineering group to be able to help us with these solutions with our customers of more than 100. We've invested in the automation, the building automation and industrial automation, to be able to understand how do we help our clients connect all these systems, and how can we be a good partner to help with Schneider be able to get these products and not only put connected products in, but actually connect them to be able to get the data and the analytics out of them to be able to help improve their business. So it's about adding those resources to be able to help those clients, and as you said before, this is a journey, and you know, we're continuing to look at that, you know, and cybersecurity, and how does it, from a networking standpoint, how can we help those clients make sure that they're addressing all those issues as well?
Yeah, so you don't have it all figured out yet, but you're on your way.
No.
I mean, unlike us. I mean,
That's why I'm here with you, because I think you have it all figured out, and you're just trying to learn.
I think together we're about halfway. Yeah. So, all right, Barry. I know you're getting a little antsy being from New York and all. It's like, hurry up, would you? Let's go.
That's right.
How do you view your role in the journey toward digital power distribution?
So our role is more of an educational role, is how I look at it. We have to educate the client that this is needed. I mean, everybody can do nothing without the smartphone these days. Can't even get out of bed without the smartphone. So it's only to the advantage of the client to understand that if they have a facilities guy like Brahim over there, there's an issue, he can react a lot quicker, and that's going to save time as far as the damage control and everything else that could be happening. So we try to educate the client, and the biggest thing we come across with is usually the first cost. You know, everybody loves the idea, but it's always, hey, who's going to pay for it?
Yeah.
And we try to help them get past that.
Good. And then what do you expect from like somebody like us in doing that? What are you looking for from us today?
Well, obviously you guys know the product better than we do, and we look to you guys to be the experts when we go to meet with the clients. You know, we bring gentlemen like Warren and stuff that's mentioned was earlier. And he helps us out and getting through the technology portion of it, explain to the client why it's valuable to them and what it's going to do for them.
Yeah, great. Well, good. Well, thanks. That's because that's what we're supposed to be doing. That's a good answer.
You're just confirming it, right?
Yeah, we didn't. That was not rehearsed. That was a little risky. Okay, Ben, how has this impacted what you look for in your employees?
I think at a core level, it hasn't changed what we look for employees. We're looking for good people who want to learn, who want to better themselves, who have work ethic that they want to drive and be the best in what they're doing. But it changes how we approach, and you know, my job as a leader is to make sure, to steal a line from Jim Collins, get the right people on the bus, get the wrong people off the bus, and make sure everybody's in the right seat. So if we've got a guy that is more interested in the network side of things and loves that, then that's where we need to make sure he fits in. If I've got a guy that's got the leadership, that wants to go out there and run crews and bend pipe, pull wire, run the big jobs, then we need to make sure he's in there. But you know, at some level, we've got to have a hybrid in between, because everything's being demanded upon being digitized, whether it's fire alarm systems, access control systems, and now into our switchgear with the EcoStruxure stuff. It's going to force us into having guys that can do everything and probably move away from some of that specialty work.
Yeah, perfect. By the way, Ben's now rebranded our EcoStruxure stuff. More clearly understood, I like that. What about what kind of training you need to do? What's changing in the training of folks? Are you having to do different type or different, using different methods?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you start talking connecting products, well, now we've got to interact with IT guys on a level that we haven't before. Usually, they're the guys that complain about how we run Cat5 cable, and now we've got to talk about IP addresses and domain names and connectivity and firewalls and understanding how all that goes into these connected products and have an interaction with that. And so having guys on that level, and so it's a lot of reaching out to vendors like Schneider to bring some of that knowledge in-house, sit down with our installation personnel and have that understanding and having that mesh between traditional power distribution like Tom was talking about and now this digital age of how do we connect the two.
Yeah. I think, it's kind of interesting what you're hitting on, which to me is really transformative time with the electrical contractor about really moving out of a traditional, role that you play into different businesses, whether you're in a building automation or energy management or low voltage or whatever, as a business, or at least at a minimum having to be articulate in what that does and understanding the implication. Because I think in the past, a lot of the issues was the kind of siloed, and sometimes finger pointing about, well, that's not my part. I stop here, you take over, and now we're all having to really work more closely together. So,
Yeah, and I think if we don't do it in the electrical contracting world, somebody will start a business and somebody will do it,
Yeah.
right? And we don't need to layer somebody else or make it more complex. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Great point. I think we all have threats, right?
Right.
And of who will come in, and it's going to be an interesting playing field with some different non-traditional players. Okay, finally to somebody that's going to, get to use this stuff. You ready?
I thought you weren't going to ask me anything. I thought I was just going to sit up here and.
I was going to ask you why the Eagles lost this weekend.
Oh, that's rough. It's a very rough question.
But I was disappointed.
I heard they had EcoStruxure in the locker room.
So, Brahim, the industry is ripe for digital transformation. How is that impacting your business and what's going on at PenMed?
So for us in healthcare and others in healthcare and familiar with healthcare, the patient is first, right? So the patient experience comes first. So something that a system like EcoStruxure allows for you to do is devote more time and attention and resources towards the patient. When you take building analytics, for instance, or you take the analytics, if we can see or foresee what's going to happen in the future, we don't have to disrupt the patient in their room or whatever's happening with their procedures or for whatever needs to happen for them to get better. We can actually plan it, consciously so it impacts them the least amount, right? And then in addition to that, we can allocate the other resources, excuse me, whether it be time or actually money towards other things to just help them with their overall patient experience. So the more and more that we digitize things and have them interoperable is for the better in the long run. Because in the end, it's about the patient, and I really do think it helps.
Yeah, I really love the part about customer first. We talk, it's something I think that, for us, it's very important, and we tend to, if we're not careful, we're talking about how, our business is performing or whatever, and then we remind ourselves or constantly are evolving, not to remind ourselves and make sure the first thing is the customer is first. And I think that's what stands out, and it should help design what we're all doing. Yeah. Thank you. Barry, how has this transformation impacted your responsibilities to your clients and the construction process? What's different?
Again, building on what I had said earlier, it's all about the education. We have an in-house low voltage group now. We rely more on them to help us spread the message to the client. And as Brahim said, with hospitals and healthcare, it's always patient first. Everything is about the patient.
Yeah. Good. What about you guys on the contractor side? How's that impacted, your responsibility? What do you view as different?
We're viewed as problem solvers. We have a customer that comes to us, they need something, they need an issue or a problem solved or a challenge that they need to overcome. And so we have to understand what's the best fit, what's the best application to address that, what gives them the most efficiency, the most long-term value, what creates value for them and their business, and how do we put that in front of them. And so it's in this day and age, between the evolution from everything from LED lighting to connected products to EcoStruxure, it's almost like drinking from a fire hose. And so it's a challenge for us as contractors. We've got to stay on top of the front leading edge of these technologies and understand how we apply it to our customer on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And I think that the other, from a responsibility standpoint, it's not about just presenting and bringing something to our clients that is the next shiny new object. It has to help them improve their business. Yeah. So to the point of things are moving fastly and we're continually getting information on new products and new technologies, we still have to take the time to step back and understand how are we helping this client, whether it's a patient, whether it's a food and beverage client, that's, we have this food safety and everything that's driving their business. You really have to slow down just a little bit and understand what their business is, what's driving their business, and how whatever connected system or whatever system we're bringing to them is helping improve their business.
Okay, I'm going to stay with the two guys in the middle for a minute. Ben, really both of you, how are you using digital tools in your work today? Give some examples of.
I think back, I started in this industry in the office, 15 years ago, and it used to be print out the blueprints and highlighters and colored pencils doing estimating. Everything we estimate, we're doing digitally, from a screen, through our estimating software, our project management software, how we communicate with our field, how we do daily reports. We've got a laptop on pretty much every project or an iPad in a guy's hand or an iPhone in somebody's pocket, with all of our leadership out there in the field. Even down to how we do internal performance reviews for our people and customer relationship software. I mean, it's sickening when I look at our software budget every year, what we spend on it, but it's also necessary for us to stay on that front edge. And it's automated so many things that keep it in front of us and keep things moving forward. That's what this digital economy is going to demand of us. And so we've got to stay out in front of it.
So Tom, with you, I know you have your EcoStruxure lab, BIM, give me some examples of what you're seeing.
Yeah, we're trying to live, what we preach and what we want to bring to our clients. So we have a new innovation center that we opened about 2 years ago that has, Schneider's platform in it. So we're energy monitoring, energy consumption, using some of the apps and the analytics in terms of maintenance and when we need to be, paying attention to some of the systems. We reduced the energy consumption in the first 3 months. We reduced it by about 20% just by understanding how we were using the building. And then also, I think it was mentioned earlier in the earlier presentation about a microgrid that we did for a local nature preserve to help kind of bring them into the next century of what is a nature preserve. Well, they have to start thinking about energy and sustainability as it relates to sustainable power and being able to take that and use that as a research and development project to be able to show metrics and data to our clients in terms of how this can work and how the different energy resources can be tied together to be able to provide a solution to the client. So we're really using all that data and analytics to be able to show it to our clients so we can give them those stories about how they can improve their business.
Yeah, it's good. It's great to have those references right. When you're talking to somebody. Brahim, what do you think's holding end users back from integrating digital technologies? We talk a lot, internally we say, who would want a dumb building? Why anybody want smart stuff? But then, give us some insight from your perspective about what's been holding everybody back.
So I think there's a couple things, well, at least to speak on. Could be more, right?
Yeah.
But one of them is we talk about ROI, right? So the return on investment. I think sometimes, whatever the environment and how ultimately it's presented to us as the end users, it's just really theorized, right? A lot of things have to line up and happen perfectly for that ROI calculation to take place. Even if it is real, it's still sometimes not totally believable in a way. So when you're asking for something on top of the need, which is perceived to be an option, it's like, how do we really see what we're going to get back from it, right? So I think it's a hard thing to portray, for you guys as the vendor, and then sometimes it's hard to accept on our side as well. Then the other thing is the buy-in from the frontline liners who use it, all the way up to administration. It's just like, are we really going to use this? We agreed that we're going to fork over the extra capital to put this program in at day one in our building. But are we going to use it? Is it going to be one of those programs that you know, it's nice to have, but are people going to use it the proper way, or are they going to do the thing that put it in hand? You know, just to kind of, you know, paraphrase, but you know, are our guys just really going to kind of go around the process, or not use what we've all worked so hard to implement into this building? So it's just a matter of really having the faith, and just, you have to have someone on your side that is willing to kind of just jump in and say, you know what, we're going to use it, and it's going to be great, and it's going to do great things in the future. So it's just really about having the faith, not to no play on you know. So I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Tom said that's fine. You could have a.
Yeah, you're going to do that all day long. I'm good with that, yeah.
But I think, no, I like the you know, the theme there of having, you know, it's a bit of a belief system, right? You're willing to take a chance and try something new without knowing everything. And then I think it places a responsibility on all of us to stay with it, because it won't be perfect. No matter what you design, I'm sure everything you design is perfect, but
Of course.
occasionally there's some things you find out that maybe could have been done differently or didn't work the way it was. And if the attitude is, well, that, and people will be looking for that, right? Told you that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So let's just go back to doing it the way we did, versus let's all stay with it. You know, remember, there's a customer, or here's what we're here for. So I think you hit on a couple great points. Thank you.
And then and for us, I'm sorry to interrupt. And
no, please.
it helps us when we see peers, you know, similar organizations and health systems. They're utilizing similar, you know, infrastructure packages, to see how they use it, to learn what are some things that they did not like about it, or that they would have selected if they could go back, just to, you know, just see what like-minded individuals and organizations think about it. So, I mean, those things are key to help us move forward with things.
Yeah, excellent. All right, Barry. The opportunity to integrate digital power distribution across industries is massive, and you've recently had an opportunity to do that when you completed, you know, the work on the Penn Med Pavilion project through the integrated project delivery, the Penn First kind of process. So tell us about that. I know it's simple. It only took, you know, what, a couple weeks? But no, tell us about your experience there.
So I don't know how simple
pretty
it was.
involved.
Yeah, it was pretty involved.
I'm sure Warren will show up going, what do you mean a couple weeks? I've been there 3.5 years. What?
So let me give a little history on the project. Penn Medicine is a 1.5 million square feet, 544 patient bed hospital. I believe at the time when we did it, maybe still, it was the largest IPD project on the East Coast happening. And you can imagine IPD in Philly is something very easy that's going to happen, right? Everybody gets along, no problem. So, you know, the advantages we had on that project is, I should start with the challenge we were given is they don't want a typical 50-year hospital. They want a 100-year building that's going to be around. So we had to really think outside the box, and we had to really bring new, innovative ideas to the table to achieve that goal of the 100-year building. So with the IPD process, we had everybody from the administrators down to the clinicians, facilities, us, low voltage guys, your team as low voltage integrators, all bringing it to the table and presenting it in a way that it was understandable to the administrators, so they can, to Brahim's point, say, hey, you know what, we want that, and we see the value in paying for that, and we don't mind paying an extra couple dollars today, because we know it's going to, the ROI is there, and it's going to only facilitate our operations that much better, and patient safety and so on and so forth. Everything that we've all touched on so far is kind of bundled into that. Yeah. And the IPD process, again, has helped facilitate that a whole lot faster.
So how often have you been involved in that type of an approach before? Was that the first one, or you?
No, we've done a few. We've done a few IPD projects, but this is the largest one that we've done. We have another one going on that's a little larger, but this was the one that I was involved in. That was the largest.
So to me, that's an interesting, you know, kind of it's not unique, and it's done before, but it does place a lot of responsibility on everybody, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it sounds good that you're part of the team, and you think, oh, I'm good, I've been selected, but the responsibility with that is pretty.
You have the risk-reward responsibility, right? So you got to come in at the right number, and that takes everybody in this room got the responsibility of doing their job, and doing it right, and making sure dot your I's and you cross your T's.
Yeah, good. Anybody want to add anything on their version? No, well, I'm going to come to you in a second. Well, here, let me just go to you, and then you could, because you're going to manage this thing, right? I mean, you were involved in the process. It's your baby.
That's the intent. I tell people when I tell them what I do, and just briefly, so I'm engineering manager on the project 100% of the time. I'm dash line to our director of facilities currently. And then when we cut the ribbon, I go with the building, and I help run it in the future. But I do tell people I have a lot of time between now and then to mess it up. So we will see what happens.
So in that context then, what do you look for from contractors and specifiers today, specifically? Either tied to this or just in general? Go wild.
Go wild. You know, it sounds very cliche, but for them to put themselves in our shoes, right? So I think, you know, as Barry as a specifier, he wants the best thing, right? But a lot of times, traditionally, specifiers, they specify, they hand a packet of information over to builders, and then they kind of periodically check in and see if what they had specified was incorporated into the project, right?
Yeah.
Then,
Or they get to review all those great value engineering ideas.
Oh, yeah.
I know you love those.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, sometimes there's no value and sometimes there's no engineering when it comes to value engineering. But and then, but you know, we really do want, you know, the specifiers and the contractors to put themselves in our shoes to realize what it's like that day 2 and on. You know, day 2 to 100 years, what are some of the things that we're going to experience when we're trying to maintain this building? Not just fixing problems, but also how do we expand on the building, right? We talk about technology. Technology is ever changing. How do we implore things today that we know are malleable enough for the future and as we go on? So I know it's tough in the sense that from a contractor standpoint, look, we do things to you know, to make money. You don't do things to lose money, and we understand that. But the more we talk about it up front and we work together and then we come to a consensus of what we're expecting in the end, we all win, right? So just really to look outside the box and kind of just put yourself in our shoes is what we can only ask for, you know?
I think to kind of add to that and to what Brahim said is we need to understand as consultants, once the building's done, it's not done. You know, he's got to operate and we still have to be there for him.
Yeah.
10 years, if he's down the road, if he calls me up and says, Barry, I got a problem with the switchgear, I don't know what's going on, come out, we got to go out. It's all about the relationships, it's all about building the business properly, and it's all about the patients, really. I mean, everything we do, we're not building the building for Penn Medicine, we're building the building for Penn Medicine's patients.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think, you know, what's interesting to me about that is we're all in it. If this is going to work, we're all in it for much longer, for the long haul than we used to be. You know, it's like you design it, you walk away. You install it, you walk away. We supply the product. You know, we never like to walk away, but sometimes you just install it and you didn't keep track of where it was, and then you own it. And if you ever need anything, then you reached out. But now we're all in it, and it's an interesting responsibility. And we talk internally about how not only do we help design the stuff and build it, and then because we're back to EcoStruxure stuff, new branded, that once we get it to you, what's our responsibility from getting it installed and commissioned or supporting that along the way, and then where are we for after the installation and commissioning support? So we're spending a lot of time, just so you know, make you a little comfortable, knowing we need to do more. And I think that's on all of us. But then with that comes opportunity, right? You shouldn't have to do that for free. I mean, none of us. It should be part of, you know, hey, this is what it is. So that'll be interesting. Okay, God bless you, whoever that was. We may have a few minutes for questions from the audience, from anybody except somebody named Steve Sykes. So if you have a question, think about it. We'll try to get to you. I can't wait to see what that would be. So this is the last question. I want to go to each of you. So this is your bring it home moment. I'm going to start with you and work our way down to the guy with the tie.
No pressure.
As this, yeah, it's okay. We want, you know, like boo at the end, when the lights are coming up, it's going to be great. So as this transformation is unfolding, what's been the biggest challenge for each of you in your business? And what advice do you have for us? And I really want you to end on the what advice you have for us. And be critical. I know it's in your nature and his, but the two in the middle try. Okay?
I don't really see it as a challenge. I see it as an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to, again, I keep saying this, educate the client about the advantages of going digital, the advantages of EcoStruxure has to offer, and what it can do to help them. You guys have been supporting us, and you guys have been doing what you have to do, and I would say continue that. I don't really see, keep doing what you're doing.
Okay. Pretty easy for you. I was expecting.
Sorry.
That's okay. You told me personally about me. All right, go ahead. Ben, what about you? What are you seeing?
I see how we're using technology right now. I think we're inefficient at it. I think there's a lot of parts and pieces out there, and when you talk about connected buildings, that operate independently of each other. And so how do we take this opportunity with these connected products, bring it all together? I mean, I can do it at my house with, I have Nest thermostats, and I can integrate all this thing. I can open up one app and I can control 80% of the function of my house in one app. And so how do we do that with a multi-million-dollar building and building campus? How do we take that information to the next level for what it is, where it is even more critical, more important, has a bigger impact on sustainability, on patient health care, on food and beverage, on whatever the customer is there? How do we make that technology more efficient and marry it up with all these systems that we're putting in?
Yeah. What advice do you have for us?
Advice, I think continue to innovate. I mean, I think that's where this has to go. It needs to continue to innovate, continue to communicate in lines of business that aren't necessarily in Schneider's core, but partnering up with other whether it's dimming and lighting control or security and different things where you can sit down with one platform and control your entire building with it.
Yeah, great. That's good advice. All right, Mr. Clark.
I think the biggest challenge is just taking that digital presence from our personal lives that we all do, and you mentioned Nest and Simple Safe and these things. You can buy a box and in a day your house is connected and you get it. But you have to show that as an ROI. It's disposable income for us as we're doing it and putting it in our house. Our businesses don't have disposable income. We have to be making investments in what we're doing. So how do we do that, and how do we help our clients with that? And from the Schneider, the advice to the Schneider is, each of us are involved with one project to maybe a dozen projects, whatever that is, where we can tell the story. You guys are involved in hundreds of projects, so to help us tell the story, to help show that in terms of what that investment is going to have, and in terms of the stories of energy. So some of the examples that JPT had this morning in terms of the savings, energy savings, the reliability, the safety, those types of metrics help us tell the story to our clients and help kind of prove that ROI.
Well, if you'd buy more of those, we'd have more stories. But he wants those like every week. We're always like, where's the JPT stories? We all wake up every day going, where's the stories, right? So it's kind of a chicken and egg thing. So you could start. I'm kidding, but no, it's a great challenge. And that's to ourselves we say that. Where is that experience? Because it's always best to have a reference or something to say, hey, that you build from, and so on. So I think that's a great challenge to us. Thank you. Okay, sir.
No pressure.
All right.
All right. So I'd say for us, something that we're kind of running into now on our project is it's a pretty technologically advanced building, right, or project. So something that we're running into is as all these different software platforms kind of meld and cross each other, we're really trying to figure out internally who manages it, who owns it, who do we need to speak to now. So we all knew IT, right? If there's an IP drop, we need to involve the IT department. But there are other stakeholders, in addition to just IT and facilities, that need to weigh in on some of these platforms because of how they affect them. So if Schneider can help us kind of understand and have resources to help us educate others internally, I think that would be a benefit. And that's one of the challenges that we're kind of running into right now. It's not a bad challenge, it's just something that is new, right? Yeah. So we're just really trying to figure it out. So yeah, and I guess my advice for that is, if you can not only think about the implementation of your platform, but then also how it's used.
The usability?
Yeah, who interfaces with it, or who's going to use it, and then just help us, again, educate ourselves internally with that. It would go a long way, and I think that'd be something that'd be great.
Thank you. Okay, we've got about 5 minutes left, and we are sitting now with great anticipation of a question from the audience. And as I say that, one gentleman leaves the room. Okay, good. Just kidding. So don't be shy. As a good friend of mine once told me, there are no stupid questions as long as they lead to greater understanding. Oh, there's a mic. I'm sorry, do you mind, there's a mic up here, if you could run up and get to the mic? I hate to do that. Well, you can come tell me, and then I'll tell them too. I'm a good relay. Whatever you're more comfortable with. Thank you. I was listening to the news today. It says, we need to get up and down more and use our steps. So this is why we put those mics.
It's good exercise to walk up here.
Thank you.
My question to the contractors, with all these different platforms and digitalization that's going on, how do you educate yourself? How do you keep updated with it? And what do you do for your companies to do this? I mean, there's so many things coming out from Schneider, the EcoStruxure. What do you do as companies, and even engineering? I guess it's a broad question. How do you keep your company and yourself updated with all the new platforms?
I mean, I can say when we hire employees, we make them get a Schneider tattoo, so that makes it a little easier. I mean, there is a lot of different technologies, and so you have to make an investment. And I think, you know, making an investment in your organization to help your clients. If you're expecting to do it with the resources that are already there, that are already working on the projects, that are already managing projects and leading projects, you're probably not going to be able to stay up on it. You need a group dedicated to be able to stay up on these technologies, and that's what they're doing, no matter what the platform is. So I think from our perspective, it's been investing in that, knowing that it may not be a direct return on our investment right away, but we have to stay up on those technologies.
Yeah, and I think for us is relying upon strategic partners like Schneider to roll out for us, to understand that we want to be part of the early adoption group. We want to be on that front edge of new technologies, and so we want to be one of their go-to people to come do a case study, come apply this somewhere. You got an opportunity with this, and so we rely upon a lot of our local representation, as well as guys like Phil Santoro and some of those guys out of Nashville for us to stay up on it. But again, like I said earlier, it's like drinking from a fire hose all too often. I mean, there's so much out there.
Yeah, we're learning together, right? I mean, when you guys came in for the training, we're like sitting there with you going, how do we make this work? And then once you do that and having the repository of information digitally, digitally available, right? Everything can't be an in-person, come see me or a phone call. So I think it's a great question. I think it's a complicated answer because it's all interrelated in the amount of information available, knowing who to go to or where to go to get it, and then how do we update it as we learn. Thank you for that. Any other questions from the audience? Okay, Steve, you can ask one if you want. Nobody, I'm kidding. Keep picking on Steve. He's a good friend, so I apologize. Nothing? We answered all your questions?
We're good.
Oh, great.
No, I just want to know, when are you going to cut that ribbon? You said you're going with it, so it's already cut, or you're...
Oh, no. So the building is slated to open in 2021. So that's why I say I got a decent amount of time to, it's like the
just a little work.
In the world. Yeah, so 2021 will occupy the building. So it's a little ways out. And we've been on it for about 4 years already too. So it's it takes a little bit to build 1.5 million square foot. I'm learning. So yeah. What's the address? So what is it? It's one convention. Are we calling it that? So we're redoing the streets and whatnot. So it might change, but right now it's one convention Ave. You gonna come by? You gonna visit? All right, sounds good. We'll
I don't know if he had a procedure he was planning in the near, 2022. And
It's next to the museum.
It is. It's so for those not too familiar with the Philadelphia area, so University City it's encompassed with Penn, Drexel, so it's right around there, and it's right near CHOP as well. So we're situated right next to CHOP, across the street from our main hospitals where we're building the new tower. So it's right in the mix, right over there.
Okay, well, if there's no other questions, we're gonna first of all, thank you guys very much for taking the time and getting up here. You did a wonderful job. And thanks to everybody for being here and for listening, and more importantly, for sharing. Okay, so make sure you take the opportunity, whether you do it while you're here or when you get home or whatever. We certainly want to hear from you about what you like, don't like, questions you have, et cetera. I think it's critical to the journey forward. So best of luck to the rest of the Innovation Summit to all of you, and have a great day. Thanks.